So we're very much aligned with innovation, inclusion, and impact, right? So the last time we talked, I had mentioned specifically that we're really pushing innovation through the agency. We're not only doing it, I think, through the agency, through like interesting projects and pilots that we're looking at, we're also pushing it across agencies. So one of the things we have started is an interagency working group, which we call a Tiger Team, focused on smarter DC. So it's what technologies, capabilities, and tool sets do we need to really help achieve the vision of the next generation DC, right? Whether it be technical or even non-technical, like what are the big challenges we want to surmount and achieve, and how can technology help get there? And so we have a group, a cross-section of people from different agencies that participate that sort of drive this. And so that's really, I think, driving some really innovating and creative thinking. It's motivating people. And then, you know, the reason we focus on innovation and being creative is also to drive impact, right? So you cannot be creative, or you cannot say your solution is creative if it's not delivering impact. So I can't say that, oh, I have this great, amazing sensor network I'm building out for the city. Oh, there are 10 people that will benefit from this, right? So the value has to be clear. It's sort of tied together, and so we're doing that. And the inclusion aspect is the fact that we are including everyone who wants to get involved. And that's the beauty of it, right? It's diversity of opinion, it's diversity of thought. It's people that have done the same thing year on year that have that perspective. So I think they're motivated and energized, so it's really good. I don't think cybersecurity should be an afterthought. I think most of the times when people design product solutions or look at things, they figure out what they want and then they say, okay, now how do we secure this? And I actually think it's the other way around. You need to think about security as very much part of the initial conversation of, here's what I need to do, what are those key factors I need to check off to make sure my environment is secure, and who has responsibility. So I don't necessarily agree with the constraint that cybersecurity needs to be a focus. It's very much part of that process. So we have to look at it very much from the beginning, and that's what we do. The first goal of really being a smarter city is knowing, right, and learning. We need to actually know, one, what our problem sets are, but we also need to know what's out there. And so for that to happen, it has to be a two-way dialogue. We need to bring vendors who want to talk to us into the door, and we need to go reach out to people we're curious about and say, come talk to us. Because when you do that, you learn, one, about what capabilities are out there, what product sets you can or cannot use. When you talk to other cities, you learn about what they may have tried and experimented with and what may have failed and why, right? So you learn a lot, and I think it's very important we start learning as an organization. So it's really important we inculcate that, and that's the primary goal of this, is to make sure we learn. And then as we start learning and as we start defining our problems, we can make a better decision, or at least a more accurate decision, right, of what's going to solve our problem. I may buy a product that I think is good, but if I do a more educated assessment of it and then pick it, even if it doesn't work, I have a clear exit strategy and plan. If not, I don't. And that's my fear, is I don't want us to buy products and then engineer for our solution. We need to know what our problems are. So it really helps fix that. I try not to box any one issue as my biggest challenge, because I think the moment you do that, you sort of unwittingly deprioritize some more critical issues. Almost everything is equally important. So I don't think that I could underplay one or the other. There could be a few that would take a higher priority based on what we're working on that day. But overall, the priority is just to really push us to deliver more impact and value, right? So when I look across the spectrum of all the systems we have, we want to make sure we're more resilient, we are planning for the long term, and that we really are investing very, very correctly in the long term. So, I mean, with that in mind, we just sort of, we just march at it. I don't let one or the other affect. So for all the long, behemoth IT strategic plans that you've probably seen, how many have you read fully and said, this is a brilliant plan, right? And with all due respect, they start with the right intentions, right? They start with the right intentions, and it's important to have a vision, I think. But it's also important to make your vision very concise. Because the beauty of when you're concise is people will either agree with you or absolutely disagree with you, right? Because they're not reading 50 pages. When you write a 50-page document, you get lost in it. And so people will probably comment. Have you seen when people provide comments? The first 5 pages have a lot of comments, and then it'll trickle down at the end. There's nothing. There's like, you've lost their attention. What's the point of a vision like that? I'm spending district dollars to build something like that, and then it's of no value. But I'd rather have 1 page of what my key priorities are. So for each of my staff, my key staff, I have key priorities I need to get done. And we work on that. And if we get it done, let's come up with the next set. But we need to just constantly evolve. And we need to be okay to change stuff. It's easier for me to change a 1-page list of goals if something's wrong, than go back and edit a 50-page document. Do you know the contract I'd have to issue to get that done? Or the number of people I'd need to assign to actually rewrite that? That's going to be a whole different can of worms. So if I had, so again, go back to impact, right? If I had to invest limited dollars, I would invest it in building out a product or capability that has impact versus a long document that I don't see delivering that value. And that's just personally, that's just my preference and the way I work. So I'll tell you, we hired a chief data officer and a chief information security officer. And I'm equally psyched about both. And I'm equally psyched about the people who have been in existing roles, in that leadership committee. And the reason it's important is when we got our CTO on board, my requirement was we need to understand data across the district. So you tend to focus either on open data or you tend to go very much about, oh, we can't release this information, right? But what is our comprehensive view of data? How are we classifying it? What measures are we taking to protect it? And for the stuff that we're putting out, who's actually using it? And for those that want it, if you're requesting a data set, are you getting it as quickly as you'd like it? And if you're not, what are those bottlenecks? Those are what we need to fix. And I think Barney is absolutely amazing, and he'll do a stellar job in that. So I'm super excited about my team.